Hello and welcome to the Great Big Indian Wellness Show. I'm Tony Patty, and today I'm joined by Anita Gayal. We're going to be talking about reaching your potential, having a vision and a goal, easier said than do. So having these in place is the first positive stepping stone to achieving them. So why is it important and what should be included and tips on how to achieve them? We're going to be hearing from the expert today who joins us and given up some of her precious time to be with us here today. Anita Gayal, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us here today at the Great Big Indian Wellness Show.
Oh, thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here speaking with you, especially an icon.
Thank you. I'm very humbled. So, Anita, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, I was a teacher for 20 years in secondary schools teaching science, and I left the profession about 8 years ago to join my husband with running the family charity, which is the Hemorrhage Goal Foundation. And it's been running for 11 years now. So I've been doing that for the last 8 years. And I have just been on a phenomenal journey of bringing the education sector, the charity sector, also the social care sector, so our family businesses in care homes, and I support my husband wherever I can with that too. And I just as a philanthropist, I really enjoy the work that I'm doing around the world, especially here in the UK. And I've recently launched a personal development program in schools. So I'm going back into secondary schools and seeing how I can, bring all these areas together. And I'm also an author. I've written 2 books. My first book is Voices from Punjab, which is out now. That's been out for a couple of years. My second book should be publishing very soon, Voices from Gujarat. And I have also launched my podcast show, Relight Your Fire, which I kind of created during lockdown. And so that's where I am right now. I'm the chair of the Hemorrhage Goal Foundation, ambassador of Alzheimer's Society, the vice president of Barnardo's, and patron of Binti International. So there's just a little bit of background about me.
My gosh, you're a busy lady and you've given up all that to be with us here today on the Great Big Indian Wellness Show. We thank you for that. So today's subject is all about reaching your potential, having visions, goals, easier said than done. And sometimes making that first step to set a goal and achieving that goal are two sometimes entirely different things. They can be miles apart. And there's many factors within our lives and lifestyles that sometimes hinder us from moving forward. And of course, we've been going through the COVID pandemic as well, which hasn't really helped matters and people very much at all. So tell us, Anita, why is it positive and why is it important then for us as human beings to set goals in our lives, from whichever perspective you want to look at it from?
Sure, yeah. So I'm going to draw upon an amazing guy called Robin Sharma, who's the author of Life's Lessons from the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and I'm sure many of your listeners will know about that. And he explains that there are 3 reasons why we should absolutely set goals in our lives. So firstly, it's all about focus, that when you have focus in your life, you can clarify what your focus is through your goals. You can meet your desires in doing what you really want to do. And it also helps you it draws you towards the activities that will lead us to what you want to do. And also writing down your goals clarifies your intentions in your life. So if you set goals, your life's actions will be based on your life mission rather than your day-to-day mood. Second thing is that what Robin Sharma talks about is that it alerts you to opportunities and it magnetizes your mind to seek those opportunities, so that when you see them, you'll seize them and you'll take action towards them, which leads me quite nicely. And the third thing is that when you set clearly defined goals and you commit a course of action, they'll give you the inspiration to work towards your aspirations and just to really make things happen in your life, and rather than waiting for opportunities just to land in your lap. So always select goals that engage you, motivate you, and that will help to boost your level of personal commitment to your life and increase your energy that you bring to your days. And, it's always important to set goals that resonate with your character as well. So many great reasons to set goals, but there's just some of them. Focus, opportunity, and action.
Focus, opportunity, and action is certainly the key words for today. But when it comes to actually setting goals, Anita, we've certainly heard over the years that in various talks, articles, human factors that affect our judgment and how to guard against them. We've seen many conversations about the number of human factors that can cause us to make errors, and also look at approaches to those errors and to reducing or preventing those errors. And that's simply down to accepting and setting ourselves a goal. So some of these human factors can become an issue in our day-to-day lives, depending both on our attitude towards the day and the task in hand. What have you got to say about that?
Wow, so that's a really big question. So that I could just clarify this, we're talking about life gets in the way, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about how our life is full of so many distractions that take us off track. And how do we draw ourselves to be active within our goal? And I think that has its own challenge in itself. How do you have that self-awareness to be so alert to your goals, so that you're clear about your life's mission, and that you're challenging yourself, you're questioning yourself every single moment that you're doing the activities. And one of the things that I use in my life is I think about my goals and I think, right, is this moving me towards my goal? And there's going to be a certain amount of activities that are not moving you towards your goal. They're distracting you towards that. But it's how we deal with those distractions. And I think we've got to be kind of balanced in that. Life isn't always going to be run so smoothly. And that if we can manage our mindset around that and create a space where, there's going to be a certain percentage of your day which will be hijacked, I call it. Sometimes you're on a mission to do something and someone comes in and makes a change in your plan or influences that change, and which may be out of our control. And I guess it's how you react to that and what action you take towards dealing with that. And I think that's will put you in the right mindset, and always having a perspective on life. When you gain perspective on life, and ask yourself the question, does it really matter? What can I do differently next time? How can I approach this problem in a way that's empowering rather than disempowering? I hope that helps, Tony.
It certainly does. And the first thing that comes to my mind is that we don't want to become a prisoner of our own conscience and thoughts sometimes. But we'll cover that subject in just a little while from now. Sure. We are looking at the Great Big Indian Wellness Show. And today we're very fortunate to have with us Anita Goyal, who is talking to us about reaching your full potential, all about setting goals and achieving them. So, Anita, is there such a thing as getting a list of setting goals? And if there should be a list of setting goals, what should be in that list about setting up and what should be included in that list for that matter?
That's a great question, actually. So rather than just creating a list, I would like to approach it in a different way, more like a process. So what kind of steps do you need to take even as you start to approach your goal setting? So very quickly, I'll take you through the very simple process. So we use the acronym GOALS, GOALS. And the very first place that we start off with is being grateful, gratitude. And when you start creating a mindset of appreciation, it makes you more resourceful. So you're able to really celebrate what you do have in your life and appreciate what you have in your life. And when you start the process by setting your goals, if you start from a place of gratitude, that's the first step. Secondly, outcomes for O. So what do you really want in your life? And this is really important. So if you want to create a powerful and compelling future, and being the detective of your life, diving into your life and designing and deciding what it is that you want, I think you've got to be very, very clear. And it could be in any area of your life. So what we ask people to do initially is to look at their wheel of life. And the wheel of life could include things like love, relationships, career, money, hobbies, fun and leisure, and all kinds of areas. And you can create your wheel of life how you want. There's no set pattern. But if you start to rate those different areas in your life that are important for you out of 10, you can start seeing where, say, the gaps are, where the weaknesses are. And you can do this anytime. You can actually Google Wheel of Life, and you can get all sorts of versions of it. And you can find what's best for you in your life. And when you start to address some of those areas where you're perhaps not doing so well at, say, for example, it's health and well-being. Like I struggled with that today. I had to cancel my personal training session this afternoon because of various reasons. And, you know, I've had to recommit on my goal. But we do sometimes fall down on those. But if you were to rate those different areas, you could see what kind of goals do you need to set that will help you to meet them. So working out what it is that you want in your life is the first step in outcomes, and ensuring that your goals are around your purpose. So it could be things goals, what do you want, or it could be experience goals, what do you want to experience in your life, or it could be, you know, your ultimate financial goals, you know, what do you want to achieve in terms of your finances. So there's all sorts of different categories. Once you've established what you want and you've made a very long list, the second step is to prioritize, to really take a look at when you're going to accomplish this by. So you can add a timeline to your goals, because then that will help you to set your goals for the year, for the 10 years or 20 years, or whatever it may be for you. And then finally, for the third one is, why do you want this goal? And the why part always gets missed out. It's such an important part of the whole process, because if your why is strong enough, it will, you know, you'll be more committed to that goal in accomplishing it. It will take your, you know, passion to make that goal happen to a whole new level, so that you enjoy that goal, you grow in that goal. So what I recommend you do is you pick your top 3 goals, you write them down on a separate piece of paper, and you write down all the reasons why you must and why you want to achieve these goals. You know, what are the sacrifices? You know, what are you willing to make happen to do this? You know, what habits do you have to give up? Sometimes we create a desire for something that we don't really want. You know, are you really committed to that goal? So that exploring that why inside you is really important. And also who you're going to become in that process. What kind of characteristics is it going to bring out of you as a person? Is it going to make you kinder, more compassionate? Is it going to enable you to bring out a certain personality trait that you have perhaps not been doing so well at? And then moving on to A, so as in goals, action. Really important. There's no point setting a goal if you're not going to do anything towards meeting it. What immediate action can you take in the next 24 hours? So, for example, you say, yeah, I want to be healthier, I want to be fitter. You know, it's about how, but what are you going to do to meet that goal? What are you going to be more? You need to be more specific, obviously. You know, we can talk about smarter or smart goals. And I think it's important to incorporate that in the whole process as well. But the next, like when you set a goal, the next 24 hours in you setting that goal is really crucial, because you're moving that step closer to achieving that goal. So if you decide to eat healthier food, well, the easiest thing for you to do is to, so for example, if you're doing an online shop, is to have a look at your online shop. Think about what you're putting in your basket, and that can be very easily done. Or go home, sort out your cupboard in your kitchen, and see what things are not going to help you to meet your goal, and literally throw them away, and start to create your menu plan as to what kind of food you need. And those are very simple, easy steps you can take. So I think in the first 24 hours, it's really important that you take that one step towards meeting your goal. And then what happens is you start, you know, building up the momentum. Because, you know, we talk about habits as well, and it's about what kind of habits do you need to create in order to continue on that, on achieving that goal. And I think it's really important for you not to leave this bit out. You've got to initiate the goal for it to become a reality. And, you know, when you start doing that, you start feeling like, wow, I did this one thing. That was easy. I can now move on to the next thing. So, you know, creating the habits around taking actions, I think, is really essential. And then moving on from that is L. So we take people through a process about the legacy, and this takes a bit more time to do. But what you've got to look at is, how do you start to build your legacy? Is it something you're going to do when you're 100, or when you're, you know, much older? Well, I'd say for you now, start thinking about how you want to be remembered when you're not here, because you never know, that time may never arrive. What gifts do you wish to leave the world when you're no longer here? Express exactly what you aim to leave when you die, when you're not on this earth. And really start powerfully thinking about what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. And if your goals are driven by that, that will, help you to kind of look at the entire wheel of life and, having that self-fulfillment and satisfaction. And finally, self, through the whole process, you've got to think about yourself. How are you going to nourish your soul? How are you going to invest in yourself? What are your hopes, dreams, and desires? And how are you going to meet all those things? Because often when you set goals, it's a really big task, and you can lose yourself. You can lose yourself to your family distractions, or your children pulling on you, or your career, your life. What kind of habits are you going to do to make sure that you stay on track and that you serve your vision and support yourself? What kind of things will you do to make sure that you are achieving your purpose in your life? And it is a big ask, because you have to really think about yourself in this. And the other thing I would suggest is not only thinking about yourself, serving yourself, think about serving others. In my work, in my philanthropy, some of the greatest things, the greatest joys that you get is when you do seva for others, when you serve others, when you're being selfless. They say that serving others is the greatest form of leadership. And I feel that is so true. And going on to, happiness, ultimately, people want to be happy. And I've got a great family friend in America, and he always talks about happiness equals to G cubed. So you may be asking, what's G cubed? Well, the first G stands for giving, and the second one is gratitude, and the third one is growth of the mindset. And when you multiply those together, giving, gratitude, and growth, G cubed, honestly, that is happiness, and it works. I will challenge people to take that on, because it really is, it will give you a great deal of happiness and fulfillment in your life. And I also think when you set goals, having discipline around the goals is really important. And that's where the habits come into it. So there's so much work around habits. And there's a great personal development speaker that I work with when I do the work in schools. And I do this now. I teach young children this in schools. It's called Repo. And when you create those habits, when you start repeating things, it becomes easy. The easier it becomes pleasurable. The more pleasure you get from doing something, you do it often. The more often you do it, it becomes a habit. So it's about, how do you create those habits to help you continue to meet your goals? And the more discipline you give those areas, you'll find that you'll be more fulfilled in that particular area. Yeah, so that's it really. So taking you through
Very
goals.
interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting indeed.
that helps you.
This is the Great Big Indian Wellness Show. We're talking to Anita Goyal, and we're talking about setting goals, reaching your potential. Anita, you explained very well to us about goal setting and what each letter of the word goal actually means, and simply intrigued by that. And it's often said that the world's perception of you are simply memories that you create for the world to see and hear. So make sure you create good ones. And I so relate to that when you mentioned that, whatever you do in life about goal setting and setting yourself up, and your legacy was particularly inspiring for me to hear. And I'm sure our viewers and listeners as well. But as far as setting goals are concerned, tell us right here on the Great Big Indian Wellness Show, Anita, if you would, for some, a deterrent to setting goals is change. Now, people don't like change. I don't like change no more than what you do, I would imagine. But it's the change. And if we have been working with the same company for years, associating with the same people, and we don't actually seem to be able to achieve what we want out of life, then it may be the time for some radical changes. So what new lease on life can we give on reaching our potential and setting our goals through that scenario?
I always love to change the word change to transformation.
Good.
I think transformation is a far more empowering word. And yeah, you're right, Tony. People don't want to change. It's difficult. Even I don't really like change much. When you live on the edge of your comfort zone, that's where real transformation happens. And it makes you feel uneasy. It really does. But I've had so many experiences in my own life where being in a comfort zone doesn't move you on in life. You can stagnate and you can become so set in your ways. Ego gets in the way, and we know ego is the enemy.
Yes.
And I think when when you want to achieve things in your life, and look, let's face it, everyone has goals. You know, you it could be, it doesn't matter how big, or small your goals is. It could be as simple as I want to lose weight. I want to be healthier and fitter. I want to get that next promotion. Want to have a fantastic career in, whatever sector you're in. Everyone has goals. And if people say, well, I don't have goals, I just live my day-to-day life to how I feel, I think they're not being very truthful to themselves.
It's,
So I think when you're living and you have goals, it helps you to have some kind of process in place to do that. Otherwise, it's a bit like asking for somebody for direction. And the person says to you, well, where do you want to go? And you say, well, I don't know. Well, then actually doesn't matter which direction you're going, because you don't know where you're going. So I think, having the focus in your life around
mm,
where you want to go in your life is really important. And, we've been doing this with children in schools more recently because of with the pandemic and everything. And I think young people have got far more of an open mind than, say, people who are older, and they're more set in their ways. I mean, I haven't my 88-year-old mother-in-law who lives with me, and she's set in her ways, and it's really difficult to,
yeah.
you could say, change or transform her. Um, so I think adjustment is important, and also accepting that there are some people that are more difficult to change or transform, and have a new design in their life and so on. But I guess everybody resonates at different energy,
Yeah.
and it's about aligning yourself to people that perhaps resonate with you, and also those people that will inspire you and challenge you. And I'll talk a bit about that later on as we go through. I go through talking a bit more about accountability.
Indeed, we will on the great big Indian wellness shows where we're at right now. So, Anita, to me, a goal is an aim or a purpose. It's a plan, right? Something you expect to accomplish according to a typical dictionary definition, if you like. So, would we be right in saying that a goal is a dream with a deadline, perhaps?
I love that. Yeah, I could use that from you, Tony.
You're more than welcome.
It is
You're more than
absolutely.
welcome to. Yes.
So
So is it that? Is it a goal? Is a goal a dream with a deadline? Is it actually that?
I've never looked at it in that perspective, but I'm happy to take that on. I think it's a great suggestion. A goal doesn't have to be that fixed, because sometimes you don't love your goal enough, or your why is not big enough. I've set goals where I thought, actually, really, do I really want that? Does that even make sense? Does that fit in with my lifestyle right now? Is that supporting my values or my beliefs? And I transform my goals, or I sharpen my goals, and I think it's really important to be critical of what you're doing. So that inner coach inside you will help to guide you to you know to really take on a goal that's going to resonate with you, and to serve
Something
your.
which is achievable, right?
Absolutely. And if it's not achievable, then find people that can help you to achieve it. The amount of times I've set a goal and I thought, wow, how would I do that? I sometimes don't even worry about the how, Tony. I just put it out there. I create vision boards, and
Yes.
I start talking about my goal. I think the other thing that's been really important for me, and I share this with others, is tell other people your goal, because you may get stuck because your network may not be big enough. But if
Mm,
you connect with other people's networks, they will help you and say, oh, do you know what? I know that person who's really good at that. Let me introduce you to them. Let me connect you to them. And that's happened to me so many times. I've got to interview the most amazing people on my podcast show just because people have recommended other people, or, they're giving me just another, I call it cognitive diversity. When you share your idea with somebody, rather than keeping it a secret, they will just give you another perspective on it, and they'll have another level of thinking on it. And you'll be so surprised at how your goal can be accelerated when you start sharing with your peers, with your networks. And, then you can start making, you can start changing the narrative, or you can start almost sometimes changing the direction of your goal. And I think when you do that, your goal can become even bigger. It snowballs into something greater for you. And then you
Yes.
look back at that year and you say, wow, I did that. I achieved that. That was phenomenal. And some goals just, after a few months, you think, actually, no, this is not, and let that goal go. Don't beat yourself up about that and be your, inner critique and, bash yourself. It's fine. You have to let some goals go if they don't work for you.
That's very interesting. So share your goals, and I absolutely accept that. That's good. And sharing it with the world out there and putting it out to the world. I'll put it to you now during this broadcast that I want a Ferrari. But anyway, whether or not
Achievable.
whether or not that's going to be achievable for me is yet to be seen. Anita Goyal, thank you very much for joining us today on the Great Big Indian Wellness Show. It's been a pleasure and privilege talking to you.